So good evening and welcome to GBC News, your news and governance channel. I am Enoch Brown and we are right here on Solution Ghana. This is where we discuss the problematic issues in the lens of solutions. We're highlighting the efforts of individuals, governments, businesses that are joining hands to make sure that our beloved country moves forward. So we're not just talking here, we're seriously looking at solutions. And today I have a very interesting topic to discuss because it's actually trending and a lot of towns and communities in the country are actually in dire need of safe water systems. And so whilst the issues are going on, we want to highlight and promote those that are doing something about the situation. So I have with me Safe Water Network, an NGO that is seriously into safe water systems. And it's interesting to note, before I start off, that a quarter of the world's population is still at great risk when it comes to safe water systems. And even closer home, 3 out of every 5 Ghanaian is vulnerable in this regard, according to World Health Organization reports. If this is true, then we cannot take for granted the need to develop and maintain safe water systems everywhere in the country. So one of the prolific NGOs, as I mentioned earlier, helping us move this country forward, our country forward in this regard, is called the Safe Water Network. We want to delve into the achievements. We want to look at the mode of operations, challenges and innovations as we see clear-cut plans in the course of providing clean, safe and affordable water services to Ghana at large. So right here with me, I'm privileged to have in person Joseph Ampedu Boachi, who is the projects manager for Safe Water Network. So you're very welcome. And,
thank you very much, Enoch.
Yeah, so
pleasure to be here.
All right. So we're going to show you a video of your works. Stay tuned. Don't change your dial. Stay glued to your seat. We'll be right back.
Safe water is one of life's most fundamental necessities. And yet, nearly 2 billion people are still in desperate need.
There are about 25 or 30 waterborne diseases. Really devastating because diarrheal disease caused by exposure to unsafe water is the second most devastating killer of children under the age of 5.
Despite the billions spent to solve this global crisis, up to 60% of all rural water projects don't work. Small water enterprises address these challenges to long-term success, transforming the health and livelihoods of communities. So what is a small water enterprise? At its core, it's a processing facility that purifies water. Drawing from a nearby source, it's designed to eliminate local contaminants. Families pay an affordable price to keep the station running smoothly. Educational programs explain the benefits of safe water. The station is conveniently located, and to reach even more people, the local team makes deliveries and runs remote kiosks. When possible, water is provided to schools, hospitals, businesses, and even direct to homes. A community governing board safeguards equitable access. Advanced diagnostic tools and regional support keep safe water flowing across hundreds of stations. Enterprise sustainability is achieved when water is sufficient, safe, acceptable, accessible, and affordable. As we empower more communities in Ghana and India, we continue to improve the model. Remote monitoring, for example, keeps operations running by improving decision-making and helping regional teams manage hundreds of stations. Mobile money digitizes cash management and improves an enterprise's financial controls. Families use more water when it's affordable, nearby, and readily available.
The ATM has made
the producing of water and buying of water. Very, very convenient. You can come here anytime to purchase water. You just place the card on the ATM machine. Then you just tap over here. Then you see the water coming.
So we're moving to taking water to the households. And so the purpose of my trip was to go there, help Safe Water Network identify what those challenges are and to find solutions to them.
When more people use safe water, health improves. These innovations are helping us overcome the challenges to reach the billion plus still in need by addressing common standards, tools and systems, training programs, funding, and policy reform. But getting safe water to those in need requires cooperation across a diverse and complex group of organizations. We've made tremendous progress, but we can do much more, faster, with your help. Together, we can realize the full potential of small water enterprises. Please join us. There's not a moment to lose. To learn more, visit safewaternetwork.org.
All right, so welcome back to the show, and I'm sure you enjoyed the video that was shown. Tell me a little bit then about the video, actually, as we talk about your company.
Good. So what you just saw is a video that describes the extent of the problem we have, globally. Despite the billions of dollars we've invested in providing safe, affordable, and reliable water access, close to 2 billion people currently do not have that kind of service. And that has implications globally.
Okay.
And in Ghana, if you look at official statistics from the Ghana Water Company, from the Community Water and Sanitation Agency combined, you are looking at 8.3 million Ghanaians not being served by any of these two agencies. So that tells you the extent of the problem we have. And that has implications on the kind of diseases that people come into contact with. It has implications on their livelihoods, implications on access to education. Children need to spend a lot more hours to go out fetching water. The same applies to women and so on and so forth. So the video you just saw highlighted the problem that we have and our solution as Safe Water Network. And we exist with two key objectives in mind. How do we make water, first of all, safe water available to everyone? And how do we make this service sustainable? Because in the midst of all the challenges we have, we still have a lot more of our water systems which are completely broken down. These are locked up investments. We can't do anything about them.
So you're talking about the governmental systems?
We are looking at government system and also some systems provided by other NGOs and development partners as well. So we want to make sure that everybody gets water that is safe, that is affordable and reliable, and also make sure that the investments are sustainable in the long term. And the video is showing some of the innovative solutions we are bringing on board, encouraging communities to make some contribution towards the operation and maintenance of these services, and introducing some innovations that make the service more reliable, more affordable, and more convenient, so that people are then motivated to pay for that service.
Well, we're going to come to the more affordable very soon, but then I'm interested to first know about how many communities you've reached so far.
Good. So as of now, Safe Water Network in Ghana alone, we've been able to invest in water systems in almost 100 communities. Actually, we have 100 water systems, but they are currently serving 130 communities. And this is because for some of the water systems, they are so large, we are able to pipe to adjoining communities and serve them. And in terms of the total number of people we are serving, we've reached almost 380,000 people, only in Ghana.
That's quite large, quite huge.
How
have you been able to do it?
Well, we've done that. We were set up, first of all, in the US in 2006, but we set up our Ghana office in 2009. And in Ghana, we started off with a pilot in 5 communities. We picked 4 communities in Periam and Accra. So you go to Pokwase, Amasaman, there's a community close to Amasaman called Obeye, and then there's another community also close to Amasaman called Oduman. So these were the communities we picked in Periam and Accra for a pilot. And then we picked one off in the Volta region. And after implementing these water stations there over a period of 2 to 3 years, we were convinced this model can be scaled. So we started off expanding our footprint, and as I speak, We are currently in about 9 out of the existing 16 regions.
Oh, okay.
And that is how come we are able to reach up to 130 communities.
Okay, can you mention some of these regions?
Some of these regions, well, let me because we split some of the regions. So for instance, we are in the western region. You will find our stations in both the western north, western south.
Okay.
Places around Bibiani, Humjibre, all the way down to Bodi, Ahimbenso, a lot of communities along the western coast, Benin, you can talk of Ekwe, the Atwabu areas where we have the gas plant. And also, if you go into the eastern region, we are around the Equapem north-south area. We've invested in a number of water stations also along the banks of the Volta Lake. I think the majority of our stations currently, you will find them in the Ashanti region. Areas around the Fija Kwabre all the way through to the Mampo Municipal Assembly, Mampontin, all those areas. We've invested water stations there.
So do you really have a scheme? Is it like you have a scheme in determining which areas should be tackled?
Before we get into a community, we do our own preliminary assessment. In fact, we get priority communities from 2 main sources. Our own assessment, because we've mapped out the entire country. We've had secondary data from agencies like Community Water and Sanitation Agency. And we've gone onto the field to validate some of this data to be able to know exactly where our model could work. So that is one main source of information. The other angle is we've had district assemblies that are proactive enough. They walk into our offices and come with communities that need water services and are willing to partner with us to deliver. So that is how come we're able to identify our communities.
Well, and then what's your mode of operation actually? Because I'm looking at the financial costs that would be involved, how you set up your stations and all that. How do you operate? Good.
So we are set up purely as a non-governmental organization. So it's non-profit. All the investments, non-profit. All the investments goes to the beneficiary communities because they need it. We don't even call them beneficiaries. We see them as customers, so we call them participating communities. They have a stake in the investment, so we want to make sure that they are actively
non-profit
engaged.
Customers.
Non-profit.
Because by the time you're mentioning customers, I want to look at the fact there's going to be some financial exchanges here and there. But
they have a stake in. They need a service, and once they are paying for that service, they want to make sure that you do that. But what we do is we get funding from a lot of philanthropical organizations. So, for instance, we have the Stone Family Foundation. It's based in the UK. We have the Newman's Own Foundation. We have the Conrad Hilton Foundation. We have Osprey Foundation, Vitor Foundation. So these are private foundations that have been set up that support our cause or are interested in investing in safe water. If you come over into Ghana, we also get funding from some corporate entities. So for instance, Cosmos Energy funded most of our water systems along the coast in Western region as part of the CSR program. We've also had some government funding. Our district assemblies have co-funded some of the water stations where with funds from the Assemblies Common Fund and District Development Fund. And we've also had some bilateral, multilateral organizations also co-investing in our stations. The World Bank, for instance, has provided some support for our work. We recently completed a 3-year grant program with the Ghana-Netherlands WASH program. It's mainly funded by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So all these are the varied sources that contribute. The GN Bank, for instance, recently also supported some of our stations. So
so it's almost free, if I should put it that way.
It is not free. We look at it as capital. We leverage this capital, and we look at how best we can deploy this capital most cost effectively in a way that assures the funders that their money is being put to good use, and most importantly, ensuring that the service is sustainable so that we don't go back to them for more fund for the same communities.
All right. Well, viewers, it's just getting very interesting, and we're going to have a short break, and we'll be back right after this break, and you're just going to enjoy it. Stay tuned.
Okay.
All right, so welcome back from the break, and you're still watching GBC News, your news and governance Channel. I am Enoch Brown, and we've been discussing right here on Solution Ghana safe water systems. And if you just joined in, just stay glued to your seat because we just got started. So right here in the studios, I've had the project manager of Safe Water Networks, as I mentioned, in the name of Joseph Ampedu Boachi, who's been in discussion with me, and it's just getting interesting, and I'm so much eager to then ask this question in continuation, that how really affordable then are your services? Yeah.
Good. So thank you very much. We price our water almost at par with what the average customer gets if they are to purchase water from a water service provided by a community water and sanitation agency or the district assembly or even Ghana Water Company. So on the average, water from our stations, our customers get to fetch it at 10 pesos for 20 liters. And that is almost at par with what you will get from Ghana Water Company. So we keep the water pricing very affordable.
Oh, well, there's the problem of funds set aside to fix water systems that break down. How does your outfit really deal with this, actually?
There's a history to this. When we, as a sector, when we decided to invest a lot more in rural water systems, we had implemented a model we called community ownership and management. So an NGO or the Ghana government picks up capital, goes into the community, invests in the infrastructure, and then they hand over the asset to the community, and they are given the tax to raise the revenue and cover all the operating expenses. If there's a breakdown, fall on reserves to be able to do this. The reality is, on the ground, it doesn't work that way. Communities could decide to charge some levies to be able to collect, to be able to keep the services running. But you know the way communities are. They are so closely knit. So that person is my father, that person is my uncle, that is my great-grandfather's niece. So collecting user fees almost always is never an option. So they want to do community contributions. Someone will pay, the other person wouldn't pay. So we in the end, we had so much problem. So the water systems were stuffed of the required cash flows. And whenever there's a breakdown, the only option they have is either to shut down the tap or to go back to the district assembly or the funder to ask for an additional resource. So what we are doing at Safe Water Network is we will invest in infrastructure and we want the community to be an active participant in this. We even go a step further and set up what we call a water and sanitation management team. It is consistent with the sector rules and guidelines. We want to do all that. But we want to take away responsibility for providing the service and for managing the finances from the community. In its stead, we enter into an agreement with the district assembly because communities are not legal entities. You can't take a community to court, but you can take a district assembly to court. So we sign an agreement with the district assembly, and that ensures that we don't just provide the service, but we deliver the service more professionally. And then within the agreement, we commit to keeping all the records on all the revenues that are generated from the sale of water. Every 3 months, we go back to the community to run the accounts. The operators of the water station are selected from the community. The vendors are from the community. So they know all the revenues that have come in. And they know all the expenses. So if they paid on anything, repair, they know it. If there was an electricity bill that had to be paid, they are aware of it. So at the end of 3 months, we go and then we run the accounts to them. They like it because then they begin to see that our revenue is sitting in this bank account, and that is outside our control. But we also make provision for a dividend. So a proportion of the revenue after we've met the very basic expenses goes back to the community as a dividend. That one, they are at liberty to use it for whatever they want. So by setting in place this kind of system, it ensures that the station has a required cash flow, and whenever there's a breakdown, they fall on that to be able to cover the expenses. So what I'm deriving from this so far is that there are small water enterprises that you set up all over. How many have you been able to set up so far? So as I said, standalone, almost 100. 100. Yeah, but we pipe into almost 130 communities. So how do you train and equip them to be able to be effective with something that is not governmental? Yes, so the whole process of investing in a water station, it takes quite some time. So even before we do the construction, and most people think that the bulk of the work is the construction. That is the easiest part of it. Once you have your inputs, you get to the community now. Within 2 to 3 months, you can set up the water system. In fact, within 2 months, you can do it, and we do it at our place. So that isn't really the challenge. The issue is how to address the governance aspect of it.
Yes.
So even within some of the communities, how do we identify people that you can even train as operators? So we invest a lot of effort in that.
Okay.
How do you identify people that you can train as vendors? How do you even take them through the requisite training, build their capability to be able to not just see water as a voluntary service, but deliver it professionally? How do you even deal with issues around attitudes?
Yeah.
You need people to be able to turn on the pumps on time.
Yeah.
You need them to produce according to certain standards. So we invest a lot more of our efforts in doing that. And we've always seen each community come up with its own unique challenges and its own unique resources and capabilities. And I think with experience, we've learned that no matter how difficult a community can be, we've always been able to find a solution that works perfectly for that community.
So do you look at education level?
Of course, we want to look at education. Our emphasis is a lot more on the skill capability.
Okay.
So is the person, can the person do very basic arithmetic? And we also look for people with artisanal skills, bicycle repairer, mason, skills like that. And when we are even putting up the water system, we, as much as possible, we want the labor to come from the community. We pay for that service anyway. But as the communities get involved in the construction of the water system, we get to identify individuals with some specific capabilities that we want to pick up and then train and have them operate this.
Okay. Well, so you have small enterprises launched every month, or at what rate?
We launch it almost every other month.
Almost every other month.
And the reason is, in a year, on the average, we do about 20 water systems. So if you have to do that over 12 months, I'm sure every other month you will have one station that is up that you have to go and commission.
I'm not wondering how much really will be involved in setting up a station.
Good. It varies. And as I said, we assess the community. We want to set up the water system in the way that it provides safe, reliable, affordable, most importantly, convenient water access. So communities vary. So if you have a community, let's say, having about 5,000 people, you may want to put in a lot more piping so that it's easier for people to easily connect. If you have one that is around 2,000, you may have a lower level of piping. So that then affects the unit cost.
What about the access or proximity to the water source?
Yes, we factor that in. On the average, we wouldn't want any of our customers to walk beyond 500 meters to be able to access water. Okay. We want to do that. We also want to, as much as possible, encourage them to be able to connect water into their homes. So all that goes into setting it up. If you are interested in cost, it ranges from around $60,000. It can go as high as $100,000. Wow. And that is both the hardware and the software
for one community.
For one community. In there, we also include a subsidy. We call it program support. I wouldn't call it subsidy because it's money that we've set aside as working capital. When you launch a water station, you are asking people to pay for it, but you would have hired an operator. You have pumps that run. So whether you sell the water or not, you have to pay those people. So
I was even going to come to the district assemblies.
Yes.
Do you pay them for their services?
No, we don't. We haven't paid any. We don't tip them. In fact, for the assemblies, our service is rather complementing their efforts. So as much as possible, they want to rather create sort of the enabling environment that enables us to deliver this service. So we see them as partners. And we, as I said, we have an agreement with them. And ultimately, it's about them ensuring that the same way we've managed the stations, even after we've exited, they'll be able to keep the same process going forward.
Okay. All right, so viewers, we have to go for another break. And then when we come back, we're going to delve more into the issues, their innovations and stuff like that. So just stay tuned. I'm Enoch Brown. We'll be right back. All right, so you're welcome back to Solution Ghana, and we've been discussing safe water systems with Safe Water Network. And if you just joined us, once again, I've been speaking to Joseph Ampedu Boachi, who happens to be the project manager for the NGO. And we've been on a trail of questions, and it's just getting so interesting. And now we want to talk about their innovations thus far since they've been in operation. And the first question I would like to ask you actually is how the locality is really responding to digital innovations, especially toward digitized payments.
Well, you know, the response has been phenomenal. In fact, we always sit in the urban cities and think that some of these solutions will be so difficult for some of the residents in peri-urban small towns and rural areas. One of the solutions, for instance, that we introduced was the use of water ATMs. These are basically RFID cards. It can be a coin, it can be a card. And the challenge we're trying to solve is wherever we set up water systems, we have individuals whom we engage as vendors. And we pay them a commission, ranging between 15 to 20% of whatever sales you are able to make. That goes to you as commission. Paying the commission really wasn't the problem. It was about how do you get the vendor to give you all the money for water that has been sold. It was almost always a challenge. You are able to recover, let's say, about 75 to 80% of what
that's interesting.
Of what the person has sold. Sometimes even low. And you have the operator leaving the main treatment plant, going to the vendor several times to be able to collect this. So we engaged with our partners and we got a solution. In partnership with World Vision, we got Grundfos to give us, I think, about 20 water ATMs. They are automatic water dispensers. So instead of having the vendor sitting here, you take the vendor off and then you put the machine there. But we had to invest. Prior to that, normally what we do with our innovations is we want to do a survey. We want to talk to our customers. We are coming up with this idea. Is this something that you'll be comfortable with? Is it something that you can use it? So we sort of gauge their interest before that then even informs the kind of messaging we give out there to lead that innovation. So we rolled out that water ATM. The good thing is people signed up. We gave out the cards almost for free, but we asked them to put in some money into it. Because if I give the card to them for free, they'll misplace it. So we said you pay 5 cedis and get a card, but you get 5 cedis worth of water for free. So what then happens is 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week, when you walk to the standpipe, you place your card on it and you have water dispensed for you. And the revenue goes straight into the station's bank account. So the operator doesn't have to come there to come and collect any money from any vendor. There's no back and forth. Rather, we encourage our vendors to rather look for additional customers and sell the water ATMs to them. So that is one idea, and that has saved us some amount of money. The vendor's commission is one big saving. And of course, we're able to recover 100% of whatever is sold there without any ambiguity or any arguments around it. One other thing we've also done is we pipe water into homes. When we started that, we thought having water in your home and taking a shower in your bedroom was sort of a luxury for those in the cities. We took a big gamble. We kept being encouraged by our partners that we should try household connections in these rural areas. We tried it, and we thought cost of connection, metering and things of that was going to be a barrier. It turned out not to be. What people are more interested in...
the house structures? Because I'm just wondering, places like Northern Region, we have the huts and the,
you can't pipe the water into those premises. It all depends on what the person wants to do. In fact, they will tell you, just get the water into my yard. The rest of it, you leave it. I'll handle that myself.
So you handle the piping and everything, the plumbing?
So we provide the forms. If you're interested, you sign up. A plumber does the estimates for you. And once you pay, we come and connect the water into your premises. In fact, now we are even looking at a partnership with some microfinance institutions. We tried that in one community in the Ashanti region, where about 20 communities, about 20 households signed up for microloans from Sinapia Bus Savings and Loans. And they had the connections done for them, but they paid over a period of 6 to 12 months. The good thing is, I think the last time I checked, about 95% of the customers had paid back their loans. So it just shows that for us, the lesson is customers are prepared to pay for a more reliable service and a more convenient water service. And once you guarantee that is available, they'll buy it. And then we also tried a prepaid metering. We had problems with payment of water bills.
Now, I was going to come to that.
Yeah, people will want to consume the water, but we're only getting 50% of our bills back. So the remaining 50% were locked up in arrears. That meant that the operator had to spend 30% of his time, which he should have used in treating, producing more water, to go around houses collecting bills, and people wouldn't want to pay.
Okay.
So again, in partnership with a funding source, we call it GSMA. We rolled out a couple of these prepaid meters in some communities. In fact, when we started off, we picked 2 communities in Ashanti region and 2 in the Western region for a pilot. Again, prior to that, we did our survey, looked at the solution, how customers respond to that and all that, and then we rolled it out. Some of the customers were in arrears, so we built in a mechanism where as you sign up, part of your arrears gets deducted. Our experience is with the initial sign up, demand dropped. And we expected that. But when we did that, we even had a set of communities where we had almost the same sort of characteristics as these other ones that we had rolled this prepaid meters. And we also realized that in those communities too, demand drop. The exciting thing is, even though demand drop, in the areas where we had the prepaid meters, we were able to recover all our monies. And our profits for that year shot up by almost up to 20%.
So what do you think has been the factor?
The fact is, your 50% arrears, which you wouldn't have been able to collect, now you are getting all the 100% back. In addition to the arrears that is locked up that you wouldn't have been able to collect if you had gone to the person's house to get it. But I think the reason why demand dropped from our analysis was the increasing realization on the part of customers that, hey, this is money that I have put out there, so let me be careful with the way I use this water. And the prepaid meter gives you a lot of prompts. So as you consume, you realize that, hey, I started off with 10, now it is 8, it is 7. I better stop using the water for watering the lawns and maybe use it only for drinking and for cooking and things like that. So that realization for us was what led to that. And people were also initially skeptical about the solution. So it took some time for them to have confidence in it. Now we've even gone ahead, we've integrated it with mobile money payments. So our customers, if you have relatives in anywhere else across the world, you could have money.
Pay for them.
Pay them. I mean, there's a short code, you just dial that short code. Once you put in the customer's number, funds will be transferred straight onto the person's meter, and the service begins to flow.
Okay, well, that's quite interesting. And I know that your outfit has actually been advocating for mainstreaming of these private water enterprises. How far have you gone with that?
Mainstreaming is our long-term objective. In fact, what our message always, I mean, to government and also to partners that invest in water is, let's look at water service delivery as, let's put them into 3 broad categories. We have the very rural areas where we want to put in hand pumps. It fits perfectly there because the numbers are small. They need that kind of basic service to keep people there having reliable, safe, and affordable water access. And then we have the big urban centers, the likes of Accra, Tema. Those huge municipal systems can work over there. Within these 2 market segments, we have what we call the missing middle. The peri-urban areas, the small towns.
Like Pokwasi.
Like the Pokwasis, the Amasamans. Pokwasi, if you go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were small villages. Now look at how big they've become. And if you look at the trend when it comes to urbanization, the bulk of the growth is going to happen within this segment of the market. So our message to government and to partners, the major development partners, bilateral agencies is, let's look at rural water supply. It's good. It's helpful. Let's look at urban water supply. It's equally good. But can we also begin to focus on small water enterprises as an important or integral part of this mix? Because the fact is, urbanization is going to happen, and the bulk of it is going to happen in these particular areas. We clearly don't have a strategy for delivering water services there because the huge pipe schemes we have in the urban centers wouldn't work there. They wouldn't be cost effective. Our hand dug wells and boreholes wouldn't fit in there. And that is where small water enterprises could play a critical role. So government could begin to look at this type of water solution and see how they can work with partners like us to be able to identify some of these communities and invest in them. And for us, it's a one-time investment. Once there's a cash flow The reserves will be there. As the communities expand, we will just expand the infrastructure to
But how is government responding? How do you assess the reactions?
The response has been, I must admit, it's been below expectation.
Okay.
We expect government to play a much more leadership role in this. We've had some assemblies putting in some money into these water systems. There are some assemblies that have put in as much as 50% of the capital costs. Could
it be an issue of who benefits or not?
Not really an issue of who benefits. I think these are assemblies that prioritize water access. Their communities need water. They haven't had water for decades.
Okay.
There are some communities when we go and we commission water systems, especially when you begin to do the test runs. When women rush to the water center with their containers to fetch water, they are virtually in tears. They haven't seen this before.
Wow.
So if you happen to be a chief executive and you have such a problem on hand, you will want to be able to use your resources to be able to meet this need. And for us, it goes beyond just one district assembly. I think it should be a much more national program where government says that I want to look at this segment of the market. And fortunately, you have a partner who is willing to commit some resources into it. So why don't we pool our funds together and go and do it and solve this and per our estimates, within that market segment, we have almost 3.2 million people that we could serve.
Wow, wow. Well, but before we go off on this, actually, what informs the price changes for a consumer?
Good.
Is it yearly or is based on conditions here and there?
Good. So we have our fixed cost, and we also have our variable costs.
Yeah.
I mean, the fixed cost essentially is the infrastructure that is there. That one is almost locked up. But things like operator salaries will most largely be about the same. We might vary slightly depending on cost of living expenses and things like that, electricity expenses. So we almost always want to look at what goes into producing and delivering the water to our customers. The good thing is because we run the accounts almost every quarter to our customers, they know all these major parameters and what goes into it. So as and when inflationary pressures or major inputs begin to shoot up, we want to have a conversation with the communities that this is how our financials are looking like and we are eating into our reserves. Why don't we go up slightly by this? The challenge we have in Ghana, and again, that is how come solutions like the water ATM, like the prepaid meters help us. We have a 1 peso coin. I bet Enoch, if I asked you to show me the last time you saw a 1 peso coin, you wouldn't remember it. So, and then once you move from 1, you go all the way to 5. But you and I know that the 5 peso coin is also not that common. So we have a challenge where if we want to increase prices in Ghana, you have to move from, let's say, 5 pesos all the way up to 10 pesos. And you probably may have to move from 10, not to 15, but to 20. And because we want to solve this, that is how come we are looking at solutions like the water ATM. And our objective is to make sure that wherever we put up a standpipe, put in a water ATM. The advantage is we'll be able to make marginal increases in the prices. So for instance, we can move from 10 pesos to 10, we can move from 10 to 11. And if the customer has just a 1 peso increase in price, they wouldn't really feel the effect. Or like you moving the price from 10 all the way to 20. So it's something, one solution we want to pursue. But by and large, as I said, we've always maintained pricing. In fact, we've always said that we want to balance equity and inclusivity. Let's make sure that the larger segment of the market has access to water and cost doesn't become a barrier.
Well, so much questions to ask you actually, but we have to go for another commercial break. And then when we come back, we wrap it up. All right, we'll be right back. All right, so welcome back, viewers. It's Solution Ghana. It's me, Enoch Brown, and we all too soon, we are just at the final lap. But if I should quickly ask this question, Joe, how do you manage not to overstep borders when it comes to your correlation with the district assembly, their interests as far as water systems are concerned, and yourself? How do you manage?
Good. Thanks, Enoch. We manage that, as I said, essentially through the build, own, operate, and transfer agreement.
Okay.
We understand that if you have a verbal agreement with an entity, it leads to so many problems. So we try to, as much as possible, define our rights, our responsibilities, our reporting mechanisms in an agreement.
Okay.
In fact, that even goes even before the district assembly takes us to the community. If the district assembly does not lead us into the community, we wouldn't bypass them to go.
Okay.
So by our procedure, we would have agreed on everything that goes into the ownership, everyone's rights and responsibilities. We are bound to submit reports to the assembly. We are bound to request for the approval if we want to increase tariffs. So all these are laid down, and then we can go into the community, and then we can start. So as we go ahead and implement, if we have any difficulty, we refer to the agreement and see what the solution is. But we haven't had any problem with any assembly, I must admit, to date.
Well, so for the records, quite on the side, though everybody's watching, what do you think about government's budget towards water and sanitation, actually? Do you think it's enough?
It is not enough. It is not enough. We have what we call, I think in 2012 or so, collectively as a sector, Ghana government, development partners, civil society organization, even the private sector, we put together what we call a water sector strategy development plan. And in there, we identify the capital investment that is needed to be able to just move us to meet the MDGs by 2015 anyway, but by extension, providing that level of service to every Ghanaian by 2025. The fact is, we've never been able to do anything more than the 30% of the required investments. And that has implications on access to water services. And this is a plan that we developed based on the Millennium Development Goals. The Millennium Development Goals was essentially making sure that everybody has access to water within 30 minutes. And there wasn't so much emphasis on safety, on quality, on service reliability, and even convenient access. Now we find ourselves where we have the Sustainable Development Goals, and that one has raised the bar much higher. Now it's not just about providing the water and keeping it within 30 meters. It has to be safely managed.
The process.
And that, that requires that it has to be free from all contamination. I mean, especially when it comes to fecal matter and so forth. As I speak, with the latest information I think put out by the Ghana Statistical Service, over 40% of our water sources have some form of contamination in there. Which isn't encouraging.
As we speak.
As we speak, which isn't encouraging. It could be the source of so many diseases that we have. And if we want to prevent some of these, it is time we prioritize water investments and put in the required investments. And as I said, we are just doing just about 30%. We can do more with the SDGs. We need to be able to deliver this service and provide it on premises. The investment requirement is almost triple what we would have done with the MDGs. And so government definitely has to play a leadership role in this. We've been encouraging government to show commitment by committing its own resources into it. His Excellency, the President, makes a profound statement, and I think it's something that should trigger a much more response from government when it comes to water access. And I think he said that after 60 years of independence, if there's anything at all we can boast of, issues around water access are things we should have solved by now. So I'm calling on His Excellency the President to make do his own work by making sure that government puts in the right resources. Government doesn't have to fund everything. There are partners.
I think you've made your point, and you made your point. And also soon we have to come to the end of the show. It's been Enoch Brown here, right here on Solution Ghana, and I leave you with an impact capsule that says that dream so big and work at it so hard, so diligently actually, that even when you fail, you would have succeeded anyway. So right here on GBC News, your news and governance channel, it's been Solution Ghana, and it's been Enoch Brown. See you another time.